to Push Your Luck Podcast in audio video review. Today we're very excited to bring to you Uwe Rosenberg's latest release at Essen, Glass Road. Now I was very lucky to be able to play this game yesterday. My friend just got back from Essen with a copy for me, and he came on over after he just touched down, and we played a game of 4 players Glass Road. Now let's take a look at what you get in the game. Alright, this is a very heavy game in terms of weight because there's a lot of cardboard pieces, right? But there isn't a real game board per se, except for this building board, which consists of all the buildings that you can build for that current round, and players will be playing around this board. Now the game lasts 4 rounds, and the buildings will only be refreshed at the end of every round. So it is a building. Well, you're trying to build buildings and score you points, which will win you the game at the end. Okay. The interesting thing is that there's no tiebreakers. All right. So I hope there won't be any disputes on that. All right. This is the player board that each of us will have. The player setup is always the same. Okay. And this is a special dial that comes for Glass Road, which reminds me quite a lot of Aura et Labora. Okay. And each player will also have a set of 15 specialist cards. Okay, all players will have the same cards. Okay, so let's go into each component in details. Now, for this board, the first row consists of buildings which allow you to trade goods, essentially do actions. Alright, you can do these actions anytime during the game, and you can even do it just before the final game scoring. Maybe you want to create some goods. For example, you can trade in water and wood to change into 4 coal, for example, and this will allow you to sometimes produce goods which will give you points at the end of the game as well. Second row consists of buildings that give you an instant benefit. That means once you build this into your play area, right, you immediately get this benefit. It's a one-time benefit only, and that's it. The last row consists of buildings that will give you end game scoring points. Alright, but during the game, usually they will not do anything, only until the end. Then you'll count as points. Now, if you notice, let's talk about the building tiles by themselves. Right? If you notice, the left-hand side consists of resources that are needed to build the building. So for the fish yard, you need 1 wood and 2 clay to build the fish yard. The middle part usually consists of the abilities. So for these blue buildings, these are the abilities, these are the instant benefits, and these are the end game bonuses. Right? On the right hand side, there's this little coin pouch. This will be the points you score for the building at the end of the game. So for example, this will give you 1 point. The star is because end game buildings usually have a different type of scoring. Depends on how much you can meet the requirements, and then you get the points. Okay. Buildings with a wooden background, you need to build them onto an empty space on your player board. Here, alright. Buildings with a brick background, you will need to build them on top of an existing building. So, luckily, there are words here that will tell you. For example, this Mason's Guild, right, will allow you to. You need to be able to build on top of replaces a Brotherhood of the Masons. Okay, so that's all the building tiles. There are quite a lot of extra building tiles here. So I think in our first 4-player game, we didn't go through all of them. So I think there's quite a lot of replayability available. Okay. Now we look at the player board. Okay, the player board comes with 3 existing pre-built buildings. Okay. They'll give you points at the end of the game for the glass, for sand, and for brick. Alright. These come standard. Alright. You have 6 long pieces of I would call them like raw forest, and then there's a pit, and then there's pond, and then there's like cultivated gardens or forests per se. Alright. Now the good thing about the player board is that it comes with the icon already, so you do not need to worry. You do not need to have 4 players hovering around the manual to figure out how to set up the game at the beginning. So that's quite cool. Okay. So you start out with 2 blank spaces for you to be able to build buildings. Okay. One of the highlights of this game is the dials. Alright, the dials are pretty interesting. Now the dial on top, you need to punch the hole and create the dials yourself, much like most of other Uwe Rosenberg's games. Alright, so the first dial is for glass. Alright, the second one is for brick. Now these are the final product. So these are the slots for glass, and these are the slots for brick. These are the raw materials that are required to build the glass or the brick. Okay, the very interesting. The numbers on the dial will show you the resources available. So for example, for this part, coal only has 0. Right, for here, coal has 2. There are 2 different dials. So when you get coal, there are specialist cards and there are buildings that give you coal. When you get coal, you need to decide which coal to add on, and you can add on to all of them. So you cannot, for example, if you get 4 coal distant through 1 action, you cannot split 2 and 2, for example. Okay. Now the main gist of the dial is that it will auto create glass and auto create brick for you as long as the brown cells or the brown sectors are empty. So for example, let's say in a turn you decided to add coal, right? So you generate coal and you move the coal piece maybe to 4, for example. The interesting thing is that the clay dial will automatically create clay for you. So this is an automatic thing, much like for example selling fish in Vanuatu. You will automatically get points. So this one will automatically create the clay for you. So similar to the glass, once I move the sand, all right, create more sand, it will automatically shift for me. All right. So you will notice that the clay and the glass, you can have maximum of 3 during the game. All right, before you need to use them, or else you cannot accumulate more than 3. For resources as well, maximum is 7. Okay, so you need to take note when you're playing the game. If, for example, you plan to build a building that has 4 clay, for example, for this case, I plan to build something with 4 clay, for example, and you move, or with 4 coal, for example. If you generate enough coal, it will automatically create clay, which means that you will need to create more clay, generate more clay than more coal than you need, because of the automatic creation of the secondary goods in this game. Okay, so that was something that you need to take note of when you decide to generate the secondary goods. Okay. Lastly, we'll go to the specialist cards. Now this is the meat of the game. In the 4 rounds, all right, there will be 3 card turns per round. What happens is during the start of each round, players will have to choose 5 cards out of their 15 that they have. All right, so the specialist cards, usually they give you benefits like generate raw materials or allow you to build buildings. So for example, like for forest manager, so the first action here, the little at the side you see whether the specialist has a requirement. So for example, for the carpenter, to use the carpenter, you need to discard one of the long pieces of forest. All right, so that's the requirement here. So for example, to use the clay worker, you need to use 1 water. All right, so you need to shift the water down by 1. Okay, so then you choose one of the actions to do. Now, what action you choose to do will depend on whether the other players also have the same specialist card in their hand when you decide to play your specialist card. Now, what do I mean? After you've chosen your 5 cards, all right, each player will then choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, each player will then choose 1 card out of the 5 and place it face down in front of them. Now, once all players have chosen that 1 card for that round, for that turn to play during that round, all right, the first player will flip the card open. Okay, carpenter. So now all other players, if they have the same role, carpenter in this example, right, in their hand, all right, so does not mean that if they have already played it face down, they'll need to reveal it. No, only for those that have it in their hand, they'll need to reveal it, all right, and then they'll put it into one of 2 indentations here. Now you see they've put this nice little indentation on player board for you to be able to place your player card there. Okay, so what does it mean? So as long as you reveal the card, if a player has it in their hand and they have a space available in the player indentation here, they must put it out here. Then they'll be able to do 1 action, right? For the player who revealed the carpenter, they can now only do 1 action, right? The benefit of the only way where you can get a bonus is if you are the only player who has revealed the particular specialist role card, and no other player has joined in during your turn as well, or played their card during your turn, then you'll be able to do this two actions in any order that you want, and you only need to pay one time requirement if it has a requirement. Okay, so that means that if you calculate right, in a game, in a round actually, you will be definitely be able to play at least 3 cards, but you may be able to play all 5 cards. Right, the other 2 cards will be played on other players' turn. Take note that if your indentations are full, you'll not be required to declare the card from your hand if another player has played a card that you do have in your hand. Okay, so which means that if you calculate, right, since it's four rounds, the entire game you can have a minimum of 12. 3 times 4 is 12, alright, or a maximum of 5 times 4, 20 actions to do in a game. Okay, so you need to balance between 12 to 20 actions to build as many buildings as you can onto your player board and score points to win the game. Now, this is we played a 4-player game last night, and it took, I think, about 1 hour 30 minutes or so. The box says 20 minutes per player. Right, it took us about 1 hour 30 minutes or so, including explanation. The explanation is pretty easy. For the rule book, it's a very thin rule book. Right, it does have very nice the board, the building description behind. Alright, it even has nice little Uwe Rosenberg pictures, right, to give you a sort of like tips, alright, in the game, which is kind of cool. And the game was quite easily played. We all got it down quite fast. We were initially wondering, oh, how are we going to be able to build such nice buildings right at the beginning, right? But we realized that by playing the specialist cards do actually give you benefits to the possibility of building buildings right at the beginning. Okay, we had quite a lot of fun. I think I would say it's a medium to heavyweight game. So even though it looks kind of simple, you're just only building buildings to win the game. All right, it did take us quite some time because we were thinking of what cards to play. We were trying to choose cards where the opponent. So we're trying to choose 3 cards where we can play by ourselves, since we get the 2 benefit, and 2 other cards where opponents will be playing. Alternatively, if you know for sure that everybody will be playing, for example, the charcoal burner at the end, you may decide the sequence of playing the cards is also important. So there's a lot of decision here. There's a lot of time spent on making a decision on what cards to select and and the sequence of playing them to gain the most benefit of it. Alright, it is not easy to get 20 actions. Alright, I think I got maybe 15 or 16 actions, and I scored 23 points at the end to win the game. But I only won by 3 points. Now this is a 1 to 4 player game, so there is a solo variant. Alright, and the solo variant that Uwe Rosenberg did mention that if you manage to score 30 points, you can you're quite good at the game already. So I'll definitely want to try the solo variant and see how. So this is it's quite a good game. Alright, I would recommend it if you like a medium heavyweight game. Team wise, I would say that I guess it's okay that the team is not really permeating through the game. The dials are cool. Right, the way it works is quite cool. It may be a bit hard to visualize. You may be a bit when you play 4 players. I could look over across the table at my opponent's piece to see the board to see what resources they're trying to aim for, so I can know what cards to play. Alright, but the discs are very small. Alright, luckily they're colored. Oh, by the way, you need to paste the stickers on them. So there's like 20 stickers to 40 stickers to go through. Right, because there's 4. Alright, it is a fun game. I enjoyed it. I'll definitely like to play more to see how the replayability factor. I also like to try the solo player, to see how it works out. And I'll definitely be looking forward to his other games from Essen, specifically Caverna, because I heard it's quite cool and quite a heavy game to play. Alright, and so that is Glass Road from Uwe Rosenberg. Alright, and you have been enjoying Push Your Luck podcast video review. Do go to our site to see more of our Essen blog posts and pictures, and also our podcast. We just recently released our episode 23, where we talk about how games can change the world with the very famous Scott Nicholson and my wife, Serene. Okay, so do join our guild as well and leave us comments on and reviews on iTunes. Thank you, and let us know how this review has been for you. Thank you.